Good afternoon, everyone. I want to call this meeting on May 9th, 2017 to order. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Abraham.
Present.
Commissioner Holland.
Here.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson. Here. Mayor Harless.
Here. Commissioner Abraham, would you mind leading us in the invocation?
I will. Our Father which art in heaven, Father, we thank you so much for today. We continually look toward you for guidance, for wisdom, as we move toward the decisions that has been laid upon us to make. Help us see clearly, let us speak clearly, let our motives be pure. These things we ask in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen. If you'll stay standing, I want to invite Aiden Chino up to say the pledge with us, and he is accompanied by his Boy Scout friends from Pac 7, so welcome, guys. Thank you, Aiden. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Aiden. You did a great job. It can be. He said it's terrifying. It can be terrifying.
No, he
you
said
did good.
It's terrifying.
Thank you so much. City Manager, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are none, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. You guys have a good afternoon. Cleaning up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we have a proclamation to make tonight, and we have a lot of people in the room tonight that can be understood as providing public service. I think we all understand what that means, but we made an official proclamation for Public Service Recognition Week, so I'd like to read that tonight. To all whom these present shall come, whereas Public Service Recognition Week is an opportunity to recognize the important roles played by the various levels of government, and whereas city government is the form of government closest to most citizens with direct daily impact through its many services, and whereas Paducah has 330 full-time employees who work to serve this community with dedication, professionalism, integrity, and efficiency. Now therefore, to honor the contributions and accomplishments of government employees at all levels, I, Brandy Harless, Mayor of Paducah, Kentucky, do hereby declare May 7th through the 13th of 2017 Public Service Recognition Week. And if you don't mind, I'd like to give a round of applause to all those city employees that are in the room that serve us. Thank you all so much. They tend to be in the back of the room, so if you need to turn around and look at them, they're all back there. Okay, moving on. We have items on the consent agenda. These are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, so make sure you guys remember that if you want to take anything off. In which event, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. At this time, the city clerk will read the items recommended for approval.
Item 1A, minutes for the April 25th, 2017 City Commission meeting. Item 1B, receive and file documents, personnel actions as recommended by the city manager, and a municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute all documents necessary for the application of the 2017 competitive grant from the Kentucky 911 Services Board to replace and upgrade communications equipment at the Allie Morgan E911 Center. And I need a motion.
Second.
No initial vote motion.
I so move.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. City clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Holland,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Harless.
Aye. Okay, Commissioner Abraham, you have a motion for an ordinance adoption?
I do. I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a project partnership agreement between the Department of the Army and the City of Paducah for the construction of the Ohio River Shoreline, Paducah, Kentucky reconstruction project, and to authorize the finance director to provide the non-federal sponsors 5% cash obligation to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as federal legislation appropriations are awarded. This ordinance is summarized as follows. In this ordinance, the city is authorizing the mayor to execute a project partnership agreement between the Department of the Army, represented by the District Engineer, United States Army Engineer District, Louisville, and the City of Paducah, Kentucky, for construction of the Ohio River Shoreline, Paducah, Kentucky Reconstruction Project. Further, the city authorizes the finance director to provide the non-federal sponsors 5% cash obligation to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as federal legislation appropriations are awarded.
Mayor Commission.
I second. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Mayor Commission, it's my pleasure this evening to have the commander of the Louisville District here, Colonel Christopher Beck, and this is something that we're going to do. It's a little unusual. We're going to ask that, Mayor, that we come and we sign these documents, and then the Colonel will sign them with you. But I want to give him an opportunity to address this commission as he may wish.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Madam Mayor, Commissioners, I do appreciate the opportunity this evening to sign this. This is a significant milestone for this project. This entire community, through Mr. Murphy, has worked very hard in partnership with the Louisville District. We're excited because what this project partnership agreement allows us to do is compete favorably for federal funding and move this project forward, which is in desperate need of for the community of Paducah. So I appreciate the opportunity this evening and look forward to a strong continued partnership with the City of Paducah. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You know, it's very important for us to maintain our flood wall, as we all know, and so we are always very thankful when we have help to do that. So thank you guys for coming to the table, and thank you, Rick, for your work on that. Does anyone else have any discussion? All right, City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner Holland?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. All right, come on up. You signing all these copies right now? Oh, wow. Where's the musical entertainment in the meantime?
Alan? He didn't even hear me.
Do we need to date it right now? I guess we're right. 17. Go ahead and date it. Is that okay?
Well, they can date it on the front,
Okay.
front page.
All right, there's your version.
As I spoke last week, or when we introduced this ordinance, we've been working on this project since 1998, and it's this document that will be the instrument that will help us move forward. So I'm about ready to do the Snoopy Spring Dance.
When did you wrap this in?
May 6, 1996 was my hire date.
So this has literally been
A career.
your entire career? Will,
That's incredible.
do you have any milestones you'd like to see
How long have you been
achieved?
at this?
I would like to see the project complete. I know the district would too, before I retire.
But realistically, I mean,
No, well, that is realistic.
Okay, well, I
Because,
didn't know
because
maybe-
a project like this that requires
Thank you.
probably several appropriations bills to go through, and those don't happen very rapidly. In 6, 7 years, when I may retire, this project may be complete. So it is, it is be fast tracking to get it done that quick.
I know it took 20 to get it approved.
All right, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Yep. Okay, moving on to the hot topic of the night, rezoning of 4231 Pecan Drive. This is kind of how we're going to do this. We ultimately are going to have a vote tonight, so that will happen. I know that we have several public comment papers here. I would like to say that because we have had weeks to discuss this at length, that tonight we're going to choose 3 comments from each perspective to come up and make a comment. So what I'd like to do is get those people that are out there that maybe have not spoken to this issue to be able to come up and make a comment. And if you don't mind, I'm not going to remember everyone, but I will call some people up that I think maybe have not had a chance to make any comments about this. And if we run out of that list, then we'll start with some people who have had a chance. So that's what we're going to do tonight, just because I think all of us want to make sure we don't stay here till midnight. And we've had a lot of open discussion. So before we do that, we definitely need to have a motion on the table. So Commissioner Holland.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Approving the Final Report of the Paducah Planning Commission on the Proposed Zone Change for Property Located at 4231 Pecan Drive from R1 Low Density Residential Zone to R4 High Density Residential Zone." This ordinance is summarized as follows. Rezone property located at 4231 Pecan Drive from R1 Low Density Residential Zone to R4 High Density Residential Zone and amending the Paducah zoning ordinance to affect such rezoning.
Second.
Great, thank you. Before we get started with public comment, I wanted to give anyone an opportunity up here that might want to say something, because I definitely want to say something before we get started with your comments. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone, and I wish I could look everyone in the eye right now just to say thank you for allowing us to open up this discussion and for us to be having a discussion with respect and dignity for one another, because I think at the end of the day, we all want to live in a community we're proud of, and that is definitely my goal as the mayor, and I know that's the goal of the commissioners up here. With that being said, I also want to acknowledge that we have opened up a conversation in a way maybe we all felt uncomfortable doing, but I think is such an important step in our moving forward as a city government, but also our moving forward as a community, because it's these kinds of discussions that will lead us to our best results. And it really has led, in my opinion, us to a really great result, because at Heartland Worship Center, when I had the meeting, and a lot of you guys came to that, I had not come to the table with my mind made up. I really did come to the table to hear of real concerns. And my biggest question was, can we solve for these concerns while we also encourage economic development in our community? And I think that what you're going to see moving forward, if we were to approve tonight, that we're going to be able to accomplish that. So I just want to set the tone for that. We're serious about the kinds of things that I put out there on the blog around exploring the traffic situation, getting our strand study started immediately, looking at the floodwater issue, the developer being very kind and good faith to make a lot of declarations around what they could do to help solve this problem. So this is real. I want to set the stage tonight that I hope that we can put some of the emotions aside. I know that's very difficult. I feel emotional also, but that we come to the table with respect for each other, because we all live here and we all want to honor each other, and I know that. So with that being said, I want to give the opportunity for the commissioners now if you want to, or you can wait until after we vote. It depends on what you decide.
Well, I'd like to hold my comments to before we vote.
Okay, that's great. Sarah?
I'll wait.
Same thing?
I'll wait.
Okay, all right, great. And excuse me if I'm going to look through this list and make sure we have some people here that may have not had a chance to speak before. And if I'm wrong, please tell me. I have Steve Hunt here. Yeah, come on up, Steve.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, I've not been to any of the meetings. This is the first one I've been to. I saw on West Kentucky Star where my neighbor George Cumby had expressed some concerns, and I live on Oak Crest also, 601 Oak Crest. I'm down the hill further than him, so I'm more impacted by the floodwaters than even he is. But my concern is that, more development up there is just going to add to our issues of flooding, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but and I've seen the traffic get worse and worse. When I get on Pecan Drive, I know I make some people mad, but I put my crews on 35 and they ride my bumper. But, something's got to be, it's got to be enforced. I see city police out there occasionally writing some tickets. So it does help some. But I just think adding more blacktop and more buildings up there is just going to add to our problems. And I hope you take that into consideration.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Okay, I think Alan Mills.
Thank you for the chance to speak. For an example, on the traffic tonight on the way over here, traffic was backed up from Pines Road all the way around Buckner to Pecan. Just a solid line of traffic. But I'm mostly concerned with the flooding. And when, I've been there since 2000 on Buckner Lake Circle. Initially, we had no flooding issues. When Heartland Church paved over however many acres of paving they had, we started having flooding issues. And then when Pecan was added, or in widened, we started having more flooding issues. And I'm just concerned that more paving is going to make it worse. I've virtually got a house that I can't sell because I'm in the flood zone for all intents and purposes. And it's not water backing up, it's water coming down the hill from Heartland Church. You could kayak down our street in high water. And Rick Murphy has just said, nothing we can do about it, it's Corps of Engineers. The Corps of Engineers said, nothing we can do about it, it's the county. And the county says, nothing we can do about it, it's back to Rick Murphy. So it just goes in a circle and nobody will fix it. And thanks for the chance to say that.
Thank you. I don't think Jane has spoken at this meeting.
Yeah. Jane, you want to come up? I don't think you didn't speak last meeting, did you?
I've been speaking other ways.
Right, of course, we know that.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak also, as the other two gentlemen said. I appreciate the phone calls last week from Mayor Harless, and I appreciate an hour-long meeting with Alan Rhodes face-to-face last week. That meant a lot to me. I believe that everybody here tonight is an advocate for about hundreds or at least thousands of citizens. It's just not 30 people concerned. So I hope you'll take that in mind. You know my stance on this issue. I've been pretty public about it. I've lived on the corner of Buckner Lane, or on Buckner Lane, for 45 years. And I've certainly seen the changes, mostly in the last 5 to 8 years. My first reaction to this zone change was selfish. I thought, I don't like the cars going in front of my house. They speed, they go 50, city school buses go 50 miles an hour past the front of my house. And so we've asked the police to sit in our driveway, and they've done it once. But then after I read the comprehensive plan, and I read it, boring, but I read it, my concerns are now multiple. If I lived, I'm not affected by floods, but after hearing the people speak at Heartland a couple of weeks ago, they were heart-wrenching stories, just as we heard a minute ago. But my big concern is what this is going to mean to the rest of the residential sections all over town, not just in my backyard, but the encroachment of commercialization in established neighborhoods. I'm not going to go over what the Life Care Center's proposal is. We know it's 3 stories, it's 18 acres, it's 77,000 square feet. There's going to be a parking lot and signs and semis and ambulances in our neighborhood. So that's my big concern. But I did read the comprehensive plan. I'd like to quote from it. First one, filling of floodplains would be prohibited except for road crossings of the river or the stream. The 100-year flood plan is increasing as we pave over the landscape, as Mr. Mills said. The growth area consists of floodplains and wetlands. These areas should not develop with the exception of some recreational areas. Another quote, prohibit development in the floodplain except for water-dependent uses and essential road crossings. Provide buffers between residential districts and non-residential districts. I have 3 more points. One is, I think Life Care could be a Danny Evetts and Independence Bank. When their site was first declined, mainly because of citizens' concerns, they moved. And what did they do? They built a beautiful, magnificent bank that improved the neighborhood, fit into the neighborhood. Second point, I did ask one commissioner if this new facility only creates 50 jobs, is that worth the demise of a neighborhood? And that commissioner said yes. We've been told that this area will be developed regardless of the outcome of the vote tonight. We hope it doesn't get developed R4. We want it to stay R1. So don't let your legacy be the transformation of Pecan Drive into New Holt Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane.
I think you left with the colonel.
He's probably in his office. I'm gonna
Okay.
go get him.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I think he needs to respond. We are gonna go see if we can find Rick Murphy, just so he can make a comment because he was brought up. I don't think it's fair for him not to be here for that, and also because I think there might be some clarification he can do on the designation of the floodplain out of the comprehensive plan. I just want to make sure we're talking about the facts here. Okay, so I've had three, it sounded like, from one perspective, and I think Jason Goins is here to speak on behalf of the project. Do you mind coming up, Jason?
Thanks for allowing me to speak again tonight. I know I was here at the last meeting and addressed some of the technical concerns. I don't really want to get into that too much tonight. There was one thing I did want to clarify that's been stated a few times. It's been misunderstanding about this initial structure that's being proposed. It is a 77,000 square foot facility, but it is a single-story facility. There are no three-story buildings planned at this time. There are potential additional phases down the road that are only conceptual right now, but the only thing on the board today is a single-story building. Aside from that, the only thing I wanted to add, I just think all the commissioners and Mayor Harless need to be commended for their effort on this project. Obviously, it's a difficult decision for everyone involved. Both parties have stressed their concerns and all make valid points. So that doesn't make the decision any easier for one. I know they spent countless hours behind the scenes, department heads, Mr. Pederson, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Summer, talking about potential ways to make this project acceptable for everyone. So I just think, I thank everyone for their efforts. I think they need to be commended on that. Regardless of the vote, there may be some, that may not be happy with the outcome, but I think they just need to look at that. I've been involved with other rezoning projects in my career, and this is the first time I've had this much involvement on both sides, and I think that's something that the citizens and everybody should keep in mind, and I think that's a big step moving forward, and so I just wanted to make that point, and thanks for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. I just realized I made a big assumption that of the 5 names I have left, that you were the other perspective, but I guess I need to make sure that it could clarify. I have 4 more names on here, and I'm just going to let you decide in all of your good faith if you are here to talk about being in favor of the rezoning, then please come on up. But if you're not, then just please stay seated if you don't mind. Because I do want to make sure we do the 3 on each side of each perspective. So I have David Clark.
I want to pass, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, David. Jerry Wilkie. No. Okay. Joe Dortch.
Well, I'm not.
Okay, and then Ron Ward. Oh, okay. We'll keep you to the end then. All right. Okay, thank you all so much. Now we all know he's going to speak. We're curious about what he's going to say. I want to bring Rick Murphy up, if you don't mind, Rick, to talk on 2 things specifically. One, just because your name was brought up, but I don't think that's fair for you not to have a chance. And it was brought up in the context of that a statement possibly that there's nothing we can do about the flooding. But the second thing is to clarify, if you know, if the property that's being proposed to be rezoned is considered in the floodplain. Because Jane brought up the language in the comprehensive plan that it said not to develop in the floodplain. So I just want to clarify if that's in the floodplain.
Mayor, may I add to that?
Oh, sure, yeah.
The specific mention of Buckner Circle, I believe, was made. Correct?
Buckner Lake Circle.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 areas to 1 question, right? Okay. The property under consideration for rezoning that resides between Pecan Drive and I-24 is not in the floodplain. Okay.
Okay.
Buckner Lake Circle, that was developed several years before I became employed at the city. We have design standards And one of those design standards is that if you are going to develop a subdivision in a floodplain, okay, it is permissible to do that, but for your roadways to be elevated 1 foot above the base flood elevation, which is the other definition for the 100-year flood elevation. The developer of the day chose not to because it was going to cost him more money to do that. So he developed the road privately. That's why Buckner Lake Circle is not a city street. It is a private street because it was built 1 foot below the floodplain, which was less than our requirements. Thereby, we did not accept it into our roadway system because the developer chose not to build it to our standard.
So when we start looking at, and this is something we talked about at the Heartland Worship Center meeting, when we start to ask Strand to get engaged with us and analyze the basin that this area sits in, we understand that and I kind of used this terminology at that meeting, there's a continuum. There's get it 100% all gone, or there's not do anything different. And we hopefully will land somewhere in the middle.
Level of service.
Exactly. So we have to decide as a community, after the analysis comes back, what are the kinds of things we can do to relieve some of the flooding.
That is correct.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
I don't know if this is a question for you or for planning. Because the property under consideration is currently R1, someone could come in and do that exact same thing and privately develop it and not be to our standards and be welcomed into the roadway system. Is that a possibility, or is that a question for planning?
Both. The property as R1 can be developed as a subdivision. For example, let's just do some quick math. 23 acres could be easily divided into quarter-acre lots and build houses on that. That would mean 80 new homes. And the other 3 acres would be taken up in roadway and, I guess, circulation within that property. That would come to us and say, we need to serve those with utilities, we need to serve them with access. That they would also have to put in stormwater control devices. It may not be the same array as what's there for one development. It would be probably more complicated for a community or a residential subdivision because it's more diverse or more broke up.
What could be developed there now is single-family homes, duplexes, or a playground, park, or community center that's owned and operated by a governmental agency. And there's a couple conditional uses like places of worship, schools, daycares that could be built there.
And that's how Mid-Continent was going to be able to develop there.
Yes, that's correct.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure.
Thank you very much. Okay, commissioners, not typically, but I don't want to get started on a roundabout.
Actually, it's a point I've written, but I did not say, this is not a rebuttal or anything, this is something else.
I'm sorry, Jane, I don't want to be disrespectful. Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to be disrespectful to you, but I also didn't let anybody else come up. Okay, commissioners, would you guys like to have a quick discussion or not quick discussion?
Speak before.
Or speak before the vote?
Yeah, are we getting ready to vote?
We are.
I spent some time out off of Pecan Drive here in the last few weeks talking to folks. And the R4 rezoning. So what will that do to the neighborhood? The reason that I say that is because the development, Life Care, or whoever else wanted to come into the neighborhood, my decision, my vote here is not against any company or entity at all. But my concern is that there are people living right kind of like in the middle of this thing. And it comes down to, it's gonna rain, it's gonna flood. It's going to. So where I live, it doesn't flood. So I don't have to worry about staying up night thinking about sandbagging and just burning that midnight oil. That's not gonna happen. In this particular area of our city, it's gonna happen. It's been happening. when the citizens called City Hall, talked to us about what can we do, what can the city do, what about the creeks that run? Well, we tell them, well, it's your responsibility to take care of that. I don't understand how that's possible, because a lot of those creeks hasn't been maintained or managed forever. So if we're going to ask our potential developers to go above and beyond to be more legal, we can't really hold them to that. So what about the city? What are we going to do? Are we going to go above and beyond and get our equipment out there and clean out? Because that's not helping the overgrowth of the creeks, the retention ponds. What are we doing above and beyond what we normally would do? But the bottom line for me is that when you look at the folks that live in that area, when they bought their property, they were in the county. Now they're in the city. They didn't have a vote in that. Pecan Drive was put in to do what it's doing, taking traffic off of Ingleville Road toward the mall. I use it a lot. When you open up to R4, if that passes, then everything that is legal to come in there at R4 will be there. That neighborhood will be changed forever. Property values will plummet. If you do sell your house, you're not going to get too much for it. So I'm not in favor of it. My vote on that would be no, for the reasons I just stated.
Thank you. Commissioner Holland?
So first of all, I'd also want to say thank you to every person who has engaged with us over the last few weeks. You've come to public meetings. You've taken our phone calls. You've taken time out of your lives. Several of you have stepped up to be on the Citizen Advisory Council for the Stormwater Plan, which is awesome. And listen, I also want to say that from the beginning, I'm going to say something about you, something nice about you in a minute, Richard. But I was going to say, I think that from the beginning, my number one priority has been the flooding in this neighborhood. It is my number one concern. When I knocked on doors during the election, that's something I heard over and over again. And people would say, what did you hear when you were knocking on doors? And I would say, the biggest thing I heard was flooding. And not just in your neighborhood. There's flooding on Clay and Harrison Street. They've experienced floodings. I talked to a sweet couple on 32nd that woke up in wheelchairs to water at their knees. So it was a concern. And what I was going to say about you, before zoning was ever an issue, somebody said, last time it flooded, Richard came out and talked to us and asked what the concerns were and asked around the neighborhood. And I thought that was very commendable. So that is my number one concern. And I think that this neighborhood has felt powerless and ignored in the face of their flooding concerns, and there is no excuse for that, and I will not make one, period. So I guess with that being my number one concern, that I've really been talking to the city manager and the city departments about way back in January when we were doing all our meetings. And what I was told and what I learned is that we discussed how in-depth this problem was and how the stormwater master plan was really the first step. And so during the last meeting in which we discussed this, my concern was, how are we going to move forward without the information from the stormwater master plan? So I'm very happy that this neighborhood, which is really ground zero of some of our concerns because of the merging of the two creeks, has been prioritized and will be moved to the top of the stormwater plan, and we hope to have some information within around 90 days, is my understanding. I mean, I really wish that the question before us was development or no development. If this was a wildlife area owned by the City of Paducah, I would not even consider rezoning. But that's not the question before the commission. The question before the commission is R1 development or R4 development, because it's going to be developed one way or the other. I don't think it's likely that this property is going to be donated to the city or something's going to go there. And, because of the dedication of our mayor and the developer to try to address these concerns, we now have additional stormwater protections for this neighborhood. And I am so afraid that if we say no, what will come next will be worse, and we will have no capacity to ask for additional stormwater protections for you guys. And, I understand the additional concerns. I understand the concerns about Pecan Drive and the West End and the increased traffic and the increased noise. I Google mapped it today, and I live 0.9 miles from this development. This is my neighborhood too. And I raise my children here, and I plan on being here for 20, 30, 40, God willing years. I drive Pecan and Buckner 100 times a week, and I share all those concerns. But I just am not comfortable crossing my fingers and hoping that what comes next is better. I'm just not. I don't think that that is a strategy for a better neighborhood or a strategy for a better Paducah. So I think that the strategy moving forward is, I hope, the continued engagement on this level. I really hope that these conversations continue. I've already talked to the mayor about having another neighborhood meeting when we get the information back from the stormwater plan. I know some of you you spent your time and your energy and you've dedicated it and you've signed up for the advisory councils and you're willing to sacrifice more time, and I hope that continues. This was an incredibly hard decision for me, but the future of this town and even one neighborhood is not going to come down to one decision made here tonight. I really believe that there will be many, many more decisions over the months and years, and because of all that, that is why I would be voting yes.
Thank you. Those were great words. Appreciate it. You guys going in?
Sure.
Okay.
Just real quickly, I was a sort of a Buckner Lane resident from 1966 to 2006 on Forest Circle. I'm not going to be repetitive what Richard and Sarah have said. They've said it very well. I'm going to vote yes. It's never an easy decision. You never make everybody happy. You can spend a lot of sleepless nights. Even if you live on 6th Street and it rains hard. I've gotten up in the middle of the night. Channel 6 has seen me at 3 in the morning out looking at neighborhoods and watching rainwater. So, yeah, it's not easy, but that's how I look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say that I realize there's nothing that any of us could say really that's going to change your minds for those of you who are here in opposition. I understand that. But I do want you to know that we have listened and we have heard you. And I want to commend Mayor Harless for going above and beyond in this process what we have in the past. I mean, your three main concerns that we heard loud and clear were traffic, noise, and the potential for more flooding. And I truly believe she has reached some agreements with the developers that will work on those issues in particular. I hope and pray that the flooding will be improved. It certainly won't be worse. I mean, I've had people tell me Rick Murphy is not going to let this, we're calling Alan Rick again, let this be built where it would put more water in. I really believe in following a process, and we have that in place with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And they had a full hearing and listened to that and recommended that it go to the new zoning. And for us to go against that, we would have to have a new reason why what their action was inappropriate. And I don't think that we've had that. And I really believe that we can address your concerns. I know she's working really hard for that. And the recommendation is to approve the rezoning from Planning and Zoning Commission. And that's the process that's in place that we have set.
Thank you, Sandra. Well, I've said my piece, and I think we all have too. And so, again, I just want to say thank you. I'm afraid you're all going to have a mass exodus when this vote's over. I don't think we have too many things after this. If you want to stay around for the food truck, that'd be great. But seriously, I hope that you all know that I've been sincere. I think most of us also, we all have been sincere in our care. I'm excited that several of the people sitting in this room will be joining the Stormwater Advisory Board, which is part of this process that has been put in motion. The good news is that it was already in motion before this even came up to the docket. Now we get to leverage that to help you and your neighborhoods. So I hope that you'll dive all in. I know there's a lot of people in this room who have spent a lot of hours learning about this issue. I want to also mention the comprehensive plan. That's something that we need a lot of engagement on. Hopefully, we will look at eventually, in my term especially, revisiting that and coming back and saying, hey, what are the modern issues? How can we address it in the 21st century? So please, a lot of you have read it now. I think that's really important. I didn't read it until I ran for office. And so thank you for engaging in this process, and we really appreciate it. So with that being said, City Clerk.
Commissioner Abraham.
No.
Commissioner Holland.
Yes.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Mayor Harless.
Yes. Thank you all so much. All right. Commissioner Rhodes, yes,
Gourmet food truck.
please. We have a motion to adopt the food truck ordinance.
All right.
No, go ahead.
Mayor, I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance creating Chapter 126, Article 3, Section 126-88, mobile food vehicles, to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Paducah, Kentucky. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The city hereby creates a new section 126-88 mobile food vehicles in Chapter 126 zoning, Article 3 in the Code of Ordinances to allow for mobile food vehicles to operate under specific guidelines.
Second?
Great. Any discussion? Other than
Yay.
excitement that this is happening? Yep. All right,
You said
city
they were gourmet.
gourmet. every food truck's gourmet.
Oh, wait.
City, oh,
I have a question.
okay.
Josh, maybe you can answer my question. I had somebody ask me what happens if, like, they're within the boundaries of a restaurant, but that restaurant wants to, like, they say it's okay.
Thank you for that. The way that we have it set up is they have to be at least 100 feet away. They may get that permission from a certain restaurant, but if we allowed that, that would be really unfair to the next food
Okay.
truck and next restaurant. So we're going to keep that in place.
Okay,
for the
okay,
100
that was my question.
100 foot.
Good question. All right, city clerk.
Commissioner Abraham.
Aye.
Commissioner Holland.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Mayor Harless.
Aye.
You okay, Alan?
Yeah.
All right, moving on. City manager, you have a report?
Thank you. I'll just mention that, in fact, Strand and Associates have arrived in town, and there are meetings tomorrow of both the Stormwater Advisory Committee, which is our citizen input committee, and also the Technical Advisory Group. We do have the Stormwater Advisory Committee filled out. I believe there are 13 people on there, so I think that's a good manageable number. The Technical Advisory Group, in addition to Rick and Eric, we have Doug Moore from the county, Deputy County Judge, as you all know, who's PE and very, very familiar with stormwater issues and that sort of thing. And also John Hodges of the JSA on that group. And I'll sit with both at least part of the time. So we're excited to get that process underway tomorrow. So just that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Any other comments from the commissioners?
Do you have
Anything?
that one comment?
Oh, it's coming.
right.
I'm coming.
Okay.
I'm almost
I
there.
don't have anything.
Okay. Okay, Ron, come on up.
Yeah, but I didn't know who he
Well,
was.
it just dawned on me.
I know. You'll be on TV, it's okay.
I'm not really coming here to complain about any night. It's an idea I had. For example, I drive down to the new park, which is
Which part? Can you be,
the one down by the Executive Inn site.
on the river, the riverfront?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I notice there's usually several people there, but there's no benches to sit on. There's something Schultz Park, but the new park doesn't have any benches. And people are usually just sitting in their vehicles. But then going on with the benches, like you go to other cities, I'll name Owensboro and Bowling Green, Cape, their downtown area has benches. And we only have benches down on the gazebo. My idea is, since we've got the art school here, which they have a woodworking shop over there, they have metalworking, that we start a mural, that's what they've done in some other cities, a mural bench program. And the art school could do that and maybe get volunteers and donations and put benches, but they would have murals on them of the city. Sort of a city beautification program with bench murals. So that's just more or less what I'm suggesting. I don't know if that's a good idea
Great.
or a bad idea or what y'all think of it, but I just thought I'd throw it out.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate that. I think Cheryl's taking notes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mark, you get that in the back of the room? Thank you so much, Ron, for coming. Okay, if there is nothing else to be said tonight, then I will make a motion that we adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We are adjourned.